What an incredible gathering of people. This is remarkable. The spirit of love toward Israel and toward the Jewish people from people of different faiths, different backgrounds, different positions of authority. Wow, thank you so much for coming here tonight. And I am so inspired by looking at the picture of this great man who's had an impact on my own life. And when I hear words of praise from my dear friends, the late Elie Wiesel, the late Joe Lieberman, the late Menachem Begin, people who I respect so much and who had so much respect for the Rebbe. So I met the Rebbe on 3 occasions. The first time, I was 13 years old. I was a yeshiva student in Brooklyn Talmudical Academy, 4 blocks away from Ebbets Field, on Bedford Avenue and President Street. And my closest friend was a boy named Zvi Groner, whose uncle was the Rebbe's secretary. And so he invited me to have lunch with his uncle, Rabbi Groner, and who walks in but this young, handsome man with deep blue eyes and a black beard, and introduces himself to me and gives me a bechina, a test about the Talmud. He said to me, "What are you studying?" And I said, Baba Kama, which is one of the tractates of the Talmud. And he proceeded to ask me questions about it. I have no idea whether I passed or failed the test. But to be tested by the Lubavitcher rabbi, what a thrill, what a thrill. Then I met him a few years later when I was working for Arthur Goldberg, who was a justice of the Supreme Court and then the United Nations ambassador. He decided to run for governor in 1970, and the Rebbe wanted to meet him. And so Justice Goldberg asked me to come to help translate some of the Yiddish and etc. So I met him on that occasion. And then the third time I met him in person, we had a little bit of a disagreement. I was then very actively involved in the fight for Soviet Jewry. I had gone to Moscow. I had defended refuseniks. I had defended Sharansky. I had defended the Jews who had stolen the airplane and tried to escape to Sweden, and they were sentenced to death. So I was deeply involved in public advocacy in favor of refuseniks and against the evils of the Soviet Union. The Rebbe, on the other hand, was involved in quiet diplomacy. And we had a very thoughtful discussion, it could have been a seminar, about the virtues of quiet diplomacy versus overt public diplomacy. And in the end, we agreed we would each do our own thing. And then finally, when he turned 85, they decided to have a dinner for him in Washington, and he honored various United States senators, but the guest of honor was Jesse Helms. Now, I did not have good, positive views about Jesse Helms. He was a segregationist senator from, I think, Mississippi. North Carolina? Yeah, sorry, you're right, of course. And so I wrote the Rebbe a very polite letter saying, you know I agree with you, you know how much I admire you, but why Jesse Helms? And he said to me, Professor Dershowitz, you have to understand that in Chabad, we honor not only for the past, but to influence the future. Senator Helms has become chairman of the Foreign Relations, whatever committee. He will have enormous influence over Israel. He said, do me a favor, watch him carefully, and then come back and write to me in a year and tell me whether you think I was right. And Jesse Helms became Israel's strongest supporter in the Senate. And I wrote a letter to the Rebbe. You know, you talked about the word Chabad stands for Chachma, Bina, and Dat, wisdom, thoughtfulness, and intelligence. And we heard before the Talmud asking, Mi Chacham, who is smart? Somebody who can foresee the future. And the Rebbe foresaw the future. He saw the future of Jesse Helms, and he made absolutely the right decision. And it got me thinking. I'm 85 years old. I'm not thinking a lot about tombstones, but if I were asked today, what would be one of the things on top of what I want to be remembered for, is starting Chabad University campus. It happened at Harvard. It was 1995, and a young man with a scraggly beard came up to me, knocked on the door. He didn't have an appointment. And he said, I want to start a Chabad at Harvard, and people are laughing at me. Chabad at Harvard? You know, Harvard is a very, very distinguished place. Is there room for a group like us there? Everybody is turning me down. And I said, I'll be the first faculty advisor. I'll help you get the seed money. I'll help you get the building. And we started the first Chabad at Harvard. There are now 400 Chabads in universities all over the world. And let me tell you, if not for Chabad, the situation on college campuses today would be much, much, much worse. Chabad is the best organization of any pro-Israel organization on college campuses today. And we wouldn't stop at Harvard. My wife and I go to Martha's Vineyard for the summer. But we decided, what did Martha's Vineyard need? It had money, but it didn't have neshama. It didn't have heart. So we founded a Chabad on Martha's Vineyard. And we now have 400 people coming to events at Martha's Vineyard. And it's just remarkable, the influence that Chabad has had around the world. And we have to increase that influence. This is Alaska. This is a place that we can learn so much from in the lower 48. We can learn so much from how people get together. Yeah, you have differences. You have strong views. You're very much in favor of independence and liberty. But the way you work together is absolutely, absolutely amazing. And so Carolyn and I have had the most wonderful trip. We came up the coast and we've seen the wonders of nature. But the wonders of nature tell only half the story of Alaska. It's the wonders of the people, the wonders of the community. It's just amazing, and it's very hard to describe. I'm gonna try my best. But this community is a model community. It shows the rest of the world what could happen when you stick together, when you work with great governors, great senators, great members of Congress, great political figures of all parties. We know that together we can prevail. And so I don't want to change the name of Chabad to Chabado, but I would like to add O's to the end of the three virtues of mind. And I think Chabad is doing that today. And so I love Chabad. I love Alaska. What could be better than coming here on a night like this, Erev Shabbat, celebrating with the nicest people, the people who are so supportive of Israel. And so may you go from strength to strength. Thank you so much for the honor of speaking before you.
The global spiritual giant, the Lubavitcher Rebbe, Rabbi Menachem M. Schneerson, began his leadership immediately after the Holocaust. The Rebbe championed the belief that the greatest lesson from the Holocaust is the advancement of moral and ethical education. The Rebbe taught that the 7 universal values given to Noah after the Great Flood are the bedrock of humanity and the hallmark of a healthy and peaceful society. Through practicing these values today, we prevent hate and violence tomorrow.
We are presenting to you, on his behalf, posthumously, the Congressional Gold Medal. It's one of the highest awards that our nation can bestow on any citizen. As I said, it's a tribute not only to the impact of the work of Rabbi Schneerson around the world, but especially the impact of his work here in the United States, for which we are all profoundly grateful. So, Rabbi, I'd like to present the medal to you now. It's very beautiful, and we're honored to present it to you.
We may no longer see the Rebbe with our eyes, but his spirit lives in our hearts, in our souls, and in our deeds. This award, this medal for the Rebbe, brought Democrats and Republicans, liberals, conservatives, northerners and southerners, blacks, whites, and Hispanics. It brought us all together.
Perhaps this is the moment to remind all of us that Lubavitcher Rebbe, Zichrono Livracha, did not need medals, nor did he need honors. The Lubavitcher Rebbe was the one who gave honors. Whenever I would see the Rebbe, he touched the depth in me. But that is true of every person who came to see the Rebbe. Somehow, when the person left, he or she felt that they lived deeper and higher, on a higher madrege, on a higher level.
Elie Wiesel said, the Rebbe doesn't need this medal, but maybe America, through its elected representatives, needed to award this medal to the Lubavitcher Rebbe because of what he came to mean and means to the American Jewish community and to America generally.
I have come tonight to our great master and teacher, the Rabbi, to ask and get from him his blessings before I go to Washington to meet President Carter. Rabbi Schneerson is a great man in Israel. All of us respect him. All of us accept his judgment.
Would the Rabbi care to say something?
That I only add a few words to recapitulate my blessings for the great success of this very important mission of the Premier Minister, and also to underline a second time that I accept this honor of his visit, and certainly not on my personal account, and on account of the movement of Lubavitch, who was dedicated for centuries to permeate the Jewish people everywhere with a firm faith in God Almighty and firm faith that in their faith that they'll have all their wishes for good fulfilled, and in holding on to our tradition of Torah and mitzvahs to go from strength to strength in spreading kindness and goodness around us, and that will be also a good vessel to accept the blessings of God Almighty in all their needs in the diaspora and in the Holy Land, and to have real peace as a preparation for the coming of Messiah speedily in our time.
Also give to charity for your success in helping your husband and doing work together for spreading Yiddishkeit, especially in Alaska. And that is the Jew returned from here, and that is has been made to be a code. They call the attention to all things around them. Don't use the coldness about Yiddishkeit around you, and Abraham to have a special temperature, especially for all the things of Yiddishkeit in Alaska. And God Almighty bless you to be successful. Through the states. Bracha v'atzlacha. Bracha v'atzlacha. Wat is het in Alaska? Wat is het in Alaska?
On the occasion of the 80th birthday of the Rebbe, I was invited to his birthday, and of course I attended the birthday. There was 1,000 people there paying honor, and they came from Alaska, California, Australia, New Zealand, Europe, Israel.
Very satisfactory. I believe, I hope it will be a good beginning.
Well, thank you.
We are my center.
That's That's right. I hope to be your senator and work with you for many years.
Yes, thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
So we know that in June of 1994, the Rebbe's neshama, his soul, departed this earth. But here on earth, his vision, his leadership, his teaching, his effect on people is more alive today than ever before. In a very real sense, his eyes are not dimmed, and his natural force of leadership is not diminished.